Hello, I'm Moira Alderson with the BBC News. Iraqi officials say at least 25 people have been killed in a bomb attack in the capital, Baghdad. The device exploded in a busy market in the Sadr city district, a mainly Shia Muslim area. David Bamford reports.
This was Baghdad's deadliest bombing in 6 months, and it took place in the northern Sadr city area, where Shia Muslims would have been out shopping for food to celebrate Eid al-Adha. The Shia community is a frequent target for jihadist militants who do not recognise their interpretation of Islam. The Islamic State group said it carried out the attack. There are reports of women and children among the victims. Several shops were set on fire. The Iraqi Prime Minister has ordered the arrest of the regional police commander.
Syrian state media are reporting the country's air defence systems have intercepted an Israeli attack in southern Aleppo. They carried video footage which appeared to show flying objects in the night sky, followed by a mid-air flash. President Biden has accused China of protecting and accommodating hackers who carried out a major cyber attack this year that targeted Microsoft Exchange servers. The White House said Mr. Biden reserved the right to take further measures against Beijing for its role in the hacking. The US joined a list of Western countries that have today accused the Chinese government of allowing and encouraging cyber attacks. Here's our security correspondent, Gordon Carrera.
The interesting thing is that recently the US called out Russia and actually imposed sanctions. In this case, so far, it doesn't look like there are sanctions. So some people have questioned, well, is this really going to have any impact? Some officials I've spoken to say that they hope that it's the breadth of the coalition in this case, the US, the UK, the EU, also Japan, Australia, Canada, New Zealand and NATO. The breadth of that will, if you like, pressure China, which will not want to be seen as being some kind of rogue state in cyberspace in the same way Russia is sometimes portrayed at.
The British Prime Minister's former senior advisor, Dominic Cummings, has made a series of damning new allegations about Boris Johnson's handling of the coronavirus pandemic, accusing him of putting politics ahead of people's lives. In his first interview since leaving his job, Mr. Cummings claimed that Mr. Johnson justified his resistance to a second lockdown in autumn last year by arguing the virus mainly affected very old people.
His attitude at that point was a weird mix of partly, it's all nonsense and lockdowns don't work anyway, and partly, well, this is terrible, but the people who are dying are essentially all over 80, and we can't kill the economy just because of people dying over 80.
In response, a Downing Street spokesperson said the Prime Minister had always taken actions necessary to protect lives, guided by scientific advice. BBC News. The acting Prime Minister of Haiti, Claude Joseph, has agreed to step down to make way for a rival politician backed by the international community, following the assassination of President Jovenel Moïse 2 weeks ago. Mr. Joseph said he had agreed to stand aside for the good of the nation. He'll be replaced by Ariel Henry, a neurosurgeon appointed by Mr. Moïse 2 days before his death, but who didn't have time to be sworn in. The Hungarian government has denied allegations it used secret software bought from an Israeli company to gain access to the phones of its critics. An investigation by a group of media organisations named Hungary among 10 countries whose governments allegedly deployed the spyware against domestic critics. 300 Hungarian journalists, lawyers, business people and human rights activists were reportedly targeted. Reports from Belarus say some army reservists who spoke out against security force violence last year have been detained for questioning. They include a major and a lieutenant colonel. They were among 4 officers who featured in a video on YouTube urging their colleagues not to suppress protests against President Alexander Lukashenko's disputed election victory. The Israeli government has dismissed the decision by the US-based ice cream company Ben & Jerry's to stop marketing its ice cream in the occupied Palestinian territories. The Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett said the decision was morally wrong. A spokesperson for the boycott, divestment and sanctions movement against Israel, Mahmoud Nawaja, said the move was an important step forward.
This
announcement is so important and came after years of pressure on the company to end its involvement in the violation of international law and our Palestinian rights. We welcome this decision and we call on the company to end all its procedures with apartheid Israel.
Ben & Jerry's said the firm had taken a decisive step towards ending its complicity in the occupation. BBC News.